So in this video, we are going to discuss the sources of the LDL cholesterol, and the one that we really want to minimize in our diet. Now, if you've watched the other videos and understood the lifestyle tenets, you know there is no such thing as zero cholesterol. Having a little bit of LDL is necessary. If you ever go to your doctor's office and receive a cholesterol panel, you will find that there is a range for which you want to have LDL. So there really is no such thing as trying to have zero of anything. However, we do want to keep this LDL at bay. We want to keep it minimal. And the main sources of LDL are going to come from saturated fatty acids. Cholesterol sources that come from animal are very, very similar to the sources in our human body as well. So we really want to be very careful about having too much because that is what's directly going to contribute to your LDL levels. So what are ways that we can reduce our LDL? Well, let's talk about four main categories. Category number one is thinking about the amount of fat that comes on your animal protein. This is really where the jump to lean meat has come, and it really makes a lot of sense. As you take a lot of that fats off of the meat, you start to see a significant improvement in that LDL cholesterol, which hopefully in the other videos that you've seen, you can understand contributes a lot to plaque formation and things like heart disease or stroke. Now, when you want to get a better idea of, how do I choose the best version, take something like a piece of chicken. And if you think about the human body, places like the thighs or the breast are full of fatty tissue. Doesn't make them 100% bad, but that is really where a lot of the fat is going to be stored. And so the same thing on your animal. If you're going to choose those body parts with a lot of fat, you're going to need to strip that fat off in order to not impact your LDL levels. Another great example, category number two, I always like to bring up is eggs. As you can see here, a lot of the fat sits in the yolk, and a lot of it is saturated fatty acids. So what we want to do is minimize how many of the yolks you're going to be taking in. My rule of thumb is if you eat about 3 eggs, you want to have maybe 1 yolk for every 3 eggs. If you eat eggs every single day, maybe try to limit the number of yolks to every 3rd day. So this is just a simple, pro tip rule of thumb. The next 2 categories really come from dairy products, and this column over here, as you see, lists the percentage of fat that comes in that food. And I circled the highest percentages, so that's really where I want you to focus. If you are a big consumer of butter, whether it's for cooking or for things like a spread, as you can see, the percentage fat is pretty high. So we really want to limit that. And that's really why I wanted to take your attention to this box over here. Consider for spreads instead of butter, something like avocado or hummus, even plant-based cheeses. All of these come with phytosterols, so they're going to help you increase your HDL instead of LDL. If you use butter for cooking, then I want you to consider other things for high heat cooking. Avocado oil, coconut oil, and ghee are 3 things that have been pretty well studied, do very well in high temperature, and are not going to impact that LDL as much as butter would. The other category is cheese. So really work on cutting down how much you consume and or alternating or replacing them with something else. Now, just looking at these 4 categories, the basic rule of thumb I like to offer you is think about the one that you consume the most often. If you eat eggs every day, that is probably what is contributing to that LDL, not the cheese that you eat once every weekend. So think about the source that's going to be the most common for you. If it's something like meat, that's really where you want to do the bulk of your work. If it's butter, that's where you want to do the bulk of your work. But the more you start making these changes, even within just 3 months, you'll see your LDL will improve and your cardiovascular risk will improve. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.